Okay, so here are the problems that I want to do first, and then we will be ready to start looking at some other stuff. So, we have kind of already talked about all of this stuff. We're just going to kind of maybe pull it all together. Let's suppose we want to find the sine, I'm just going to put several of them up here, of negative 540 degrees. Let's start with these. Okay, so what do you want to do with negative 540 degrees? What are you going to do with that? Well, we need to figure out what it looks like first of all. How about negative 540 though? That's more than once around, isn't it? So let's get rid of that extra revolution, and we do that by adding or subtracting 360, right? So let's see, if we get rid of that extra revolution in there, that would be the same as the sine of what? Negative 180. Okay, so now we know where 180 is, right? It is on the axis. When it's on the axis, we do not draw a triangle. We don't need to draw a triangle. We draw triangles to find x, y, and r. We know x, y, and r. Well, we're going to make it up, right? If we let r be 1, if we say our radius is 1, then what would be my x and y? What are the coordinates of that point right there? Negative 1, 0, right? Now, we want the sine. So we remember that sine is y over r. So y over r, the sine will be 0. Easy. Easy, easy, easy. All right, let's try this one. Cosine 17 pi over 4. Wait a minute, that's a big angle too. Right? What is that in terms of a mixed number? 17 fourths. 4 1/4. Now remember, that's a radian measure. What's a revolution? 2 pi. So if you've got more than 2 pi, it's like having more than 360. You can just ditch all that extra stuff, right? So if I throw, how much can I throw out here? I could actually throw out 4 pi. Because that would be 2 revolutions. So I'm going to throw out 4 pi, and really I'm finding just the cosine of a 4th pi. That's all that's left, because I threw this out. So what do I do now? What do I do now? You know how to do this. But change that into degrees, and that's 45 degrees. You've done enough, you may just know that automatically. You may not even have to do the arithmetic. But it's a 1/4 of 180, and a 1/4 of 180 is 45. So we'll draw 45. That's easy. And what are the sides of the triangle? 1, 1, root 2. So now I know that my x is 1, my y is 1, and my r is root 2. Anything negative? No, we're in quadrant 1, so we don't have to worry about the negatives. But we do want the cosine, and what's the cosine by definition? X over r, or adjacent over hypotenuse, either way. And when we do that, we get 1 over root 2, or root 2 over 2.
Wait, so when you get from 145 to 45 degrees, is that, how did, like...
Pi is 180, so 1/4 of 180. Okay, now, here's another one that's more than a revolution. What is 19/6 as a mixed number? 3 1/6. That is too much. But be careful. How much of that are you allowed to take out? Only 2. Remember, you can only take out revolutions. And revolutions are 2 pi's. So if I take out 2 of those, that's 1 1/6. Or I think of that as 7 pi over 6. You can think of it however you want. Harry, will put your head up for me? So what's 7 pi over 6 in terms of degrees? Well, pi is divided by 6 times 7, 210. So we have the cotangent of 210 degrees. degrees. Okay? How big is my reference angle right here? Now use your head. Think about it. 30, 180, and 30 more. So what's this side? 1. Across from the 30 is always 1. Root 3, 2. Anything negative? The root 3 is negative, and so is the 1. What was I looking for? Cotangent. So now I've got a situation where x is negative root 3, y is negative 1, and r is 2. X is the horizontal, y is the vertical, always. This is a coordinate plane. What's cotangent by definition? Adjacent over opposite, or x over y. So it looks like we have positive root 3 because it's negative root 3 over negative 1. Everybody okay with that? All right, let's look now in your book at a couple of problems that are a little bit tricky. Let's look on page 381. And let's look at problem 44. We are on page 381, and we're looking at problem 44. It says find the cosine and the tangent. Oh, cotangent, I mean. Find cosine and cotangent. And we are given that the sine is 1/4 and the tangent is less than 0.
I think it's
Okay. Anybody have a thought here on how we might get started on this guy? This is a kind of a hard-looking problem. I don't think it's that hard, but it sure looks hard. Draw a picture. Always, I love to draw pictures, so it sounds like a great plan. Here's my issue. They tell me that the sine is 1/4. So I'm envisioning a triangle, are you? Where the opposite side, or the y side, is 1 and the hypotenuse is 4. So I'm envisioning a triangle that looks like this. Does that make sense to you? Now, here's the issue. There's another triangle that would also have a sine being 1/4. Would you agree with that? Because sine is y over r. R is always going to be positive, so I just need to have my y be positive, and that happens in 2 places. Okay, well, which one is it? Well, that's where you need this piece of information. I've drawn this. That's drawn. Now I need this. What does this say? The tangent is negative. All right, where does that happen? These are your 2 options. Which one of these is going to have a negative tangent? The left one, the quadrant 2 one. And how do we know that? Because this is going to be negative in this triangle, but positive in that triangle. I haven't found that number yet, but would you agree it's going to be positive here and negative here? And the only way the tangent would be negative is if we had this combination. This would not be negative. So this is where, this is not the answer. This is where I'm going to draw my triangle. Okay, what's that third side going to be? Negative root 15. And we get root 15 by doing the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, well now I'm pretty home free. I need the cosine. Can you tell me what the cosine is from that picture right there? Yep, negative root 15 over 4. We can do that either by doing adjacent over hypotenuse or by recognizing that x is negative root 15, y is 1, r is 4, x over r, that's your cosine. Now what about cotangent? What's the cotangent going to be? Negative root 15. Because what's cotangent? X over y or adjacent over opposite.
How do you know it's a right triangle?
Anytime you construct, okay, anytime I construct a triangle inside the unit circle, or inside the circle, this is the unit circle, inside the circle, it's going to be a right triangle. Because when I draw my angle, I drop a perpendicular to the x-axis. Okay? You are going to construct it that way every single time. All right, let's do one more of those. Let's try 48. See if you can do this one. It says find the cosecant and the cotangent. And this time we are given that the tangent is negative 4/3 and the sine is positive. Now, first of all, this one's a no-brainer. They're asking me for the cotangent, and they're giving me the tangents. What's this one? I can fill this one in already. Negative 3/4, right? They're always reciprocals. All right, let's draw a picture of this, just like we did last time. Tell me about a negative tangent value. It says the tangent is negative. Tell me about that. Where would that happen? It could happen in the second quadrant. Where else could the tangent be negative? Fourth. How do I know that the tangent is negative in the second and the fourth? Think about it. What's going through your head? What's tangent? Y over x, right? So if you're going to build a fraction that's negative, what do you know has to be the case? One of them is negative and one is positive. So you think about your quadrants, where does that happen? That one is positive and one is negative. Doesn't that happen here? So this is where the tangent is negative. Now I gotta look at this. These are my two choices. Which one has a positive sine value? Think about what sine is.
The one
Which variable is sine associated with? X or y?
Y.
Sine is associated with y. Sine is y over r, right? If you want sine to be positive, then y has to be positive. Of these two options, which has a positive y? This one does. So this is not going to be the answer. This is going to be where I look. Okay, so let's go back through this and make sure this is settling in with you. What's tangent? Which variables is tangent associated with? X and y, right? Both of them. So if you want that to be a negative number, then you have to have one positive and one negative. right? Which variable is sine associated with? Y. I know it's y over r, but r is always positive, so it's not part of the conversation. Sine is associated with y. If sine has to be positive, then y has to be positive. All right, let's label our triangle. The tangent is -4/3. This would be 4, -3. Pythagorean theorem would say that's 5. I want the cosecant. What's the cosecant? Reciprocal of sine, so that would be, yes, indeed, 5/4. Okay? All right, would you get out your packets? And on Friday, I think it was Friday, we did a quiz. I want to do another one. It's on the back of the one we did, so I think it's the back side of the 4th page of the big packet. The back side of the 4th page. The back side of the quiz that we already did. Back side, 4th page. First question says, given the angle as shown. So the angle that's shown is this one. And we want the sine, tangent, and secant. All right, so this is it. This is what's drawn on the picture or on the page. Where do we go from here?
Y next.
I need to make a triangle, so I'll take my perpendicular straight up to the x-axis, and they tell me what x and y are, so x is -2 and y is -3. They give me that. And then what do I do next? Pythagorean theorem, that should be root 13. So now we have x, and we have y, and we have r. We can answer any question under the sun with that information. What's the sign? -3 over root 13, which will rationalize. What's the tangent? 3/2. Positive. And what's the secant? Negative root 13/2. Root 13 over 2. Because secant is reciprocal of cosine, so it's r over x. Everybody keep up with that? All right, next, what's the cosine of 60? Oh, geez, you ought to be able to do that in your sleep. Terry, I'm not saying to go to sleep. All right, cosine 60. Draw my little circle here, 60 degrees, that's right there in quadrant 1, isn't it? Oh, this is a no calculator problem. Oh, okay. So the cosine of 60, well, let's see, this would be root 3, and this would be 1, and this would be 2. So cosine would be 1/2. Because what's cosine? X over r, or adjacent over hypotenuse. And x is 1, y is root 3, r is 2. One more time, this is a coordinate axis system. Every horizontal is x, every vertical is y. Tangent 90. What's special about that one? It's on an axis, isn't it? we know X, Y, and R then, you cannot miss this, because you get to make it up. Pick a radius. I like 1. And if the radius is 1, then the coordinates of that point right there are what? You don't need to figure it out, you know it. What are those coordinates?
0,
0, 1. So X is 0, Y is 1. Now we want the tangent. Tangent is Y over X, which would be undefined. Tomorrow when we start graphing these guys, we will notice we have an asymptote in the tangent curve at 90 because it's undefined there. Cosecant, 5 pi over 3. Okay, here we go. It's a cosecant and it's a radian measure. All right, how many degrees is that? Pi is divided by 3 times 5. So this is the cosecant of 300. All right, let's draw 300. What's my reference angle? That's this angle right here inside the triangle. That's 60. Kids, all the way around is 360. So if I go 300, I've got 60 more to go. I know that the label across from the 60 is root 3. Anything in that picture negative, the root 3. So X is 1, Y is negative root 3, and R is 2. Now I want the cosecant. Reciprocal of sine. So it would be R over Y negative 2 root 3 over 3 when I rationalize. Did you feel okay about that? All right, let's get our calculators out then, and at your tables, would you work through these 5 calculator problems and check them with each other? And then I'm going to work them out too, and we'll see what we come up with. What do you have to pay attention to every time you turn on your calculator? Are we in degrees or radians? Pay attention to that. Also pay attention to the rounding. We have issues with that, some of us do. 1,000th would be how many decimal places? 3. Okay, you got them? Okay, what'd you get for the first one? Table 1 over here. Girls, what'd you get? 1.023. They are correct. 1.023. All right, men here.
Negative 1.254.
Bingo. Negative 1.254. Negative 1.254. All right, girls and boys at this table. 0.909. Absolutely correct. Good job. D. I don't have a calculator. Thank you. Negative 0.998. Very, very good. And back here, O'Malley.
2 or E?
Yeah, E.
2.1518.
Okay, we're rounding to the nearest 3 decimal places, the nearest thousand.
2.15.
2.152. Very, very good. 2.152. All right. I am done for the day. We have 5 minutes left. If you missed any of those, I want you to go to the table that gave the right answer and get it from that person.